Okay. I'm going to talk about the current astrology, what's going on in the sky right now, and just kind of the energy that we've been working through and that we are stepping into. Been doing a little bit of crying today. I think there's a lot of, since the full moon in Scorpio, that was last week, I feel like we have been ripped open a little bit, feeling super raw and vulnerable and just exposed, and like we've been ripped open, cut, and you can just see all of the insides. I think very, very sensitive right now, very easily triggered, or touching something within you, and then it's triggering like a whole, plethora of feelings and just shit coming up from the past. I think during the Scorpio full moon, if you were willing to go there, if you were willing to lean into the uncomfortability that came up during that time, that we could have been like face to face with our shadow self, For me, it was like, it was like a slideshow. It was like a mushroom trip, like a slideshow of my whole life, just like one after the next, seeing things come up of just ways that I've been in the past, like my shadow self just fucking running rampant and doing whatever it wants, and just acting out, and not being conscious of my behaviors, of how I was affecting other people. So being able to feel that, to feel those things, and to not hurt yourself, to not judge yourself, to not shame yourself, to not self-destruct, self-sabotage. That's the low road of the Scorpio energy. It feels things so deeply, and it needs a healthy channel to release it, to transmute that energy, to alchemize it into something different. Scorpio, it's a really erotic, it rules your sexual organs. So, using all of that, like, passionate, it's almost like a fiery energy, even though it's a water sign, it's like a fiery water energy. So using all of that, channeling that into something good, like something productive, whether it's, creating something, dancing, having sex, whatever it is, just having a healthy way to express those feelings, the intensity that can build up inside of us. So I think at that time of the full moon, that we became aware of our shadow self. We had to sit with all of that lower vibrational energy. Again, if you're willing to do that work, if you're willing to sit with that stuff, and then ultimately be able to move through it, to not be so controlled by it, so consumed by it, that it just is your like default, that it's operating unconsciously, like beneath the surface. These patterns, these cycles that we repeat until we're made conscious of them. So just feelings of shame, of feeling bad, of, guilty, understanding different power plays, wanting to control things, wanting to manipulate things or people in the past. Just all the aspects of our shadow self. And so holding space for ourselves at that time, allowing ourselves to feel everything, to feel the pain, the sadness, the heaviness, to understand why we showed up that way, and to have compassion for ourselves, just like we need to extend compassion to other people and their shadow self. Family stuff is a really big one right now, because we've got Mars has moved into Cancer. We've got the North and South Node, you know, in Cancer, Capricorn. So there's a lot of stuff coming up from the past. There's a lot of stuff coming up from our childhood, which is when most of this shit happens, right? It happens in our childhood, or it happens in a past life. It's like, you know, so far back that we aren't even really conscious of it all the time. It's just like those are the themes that are operating underneath the surface. So, you know, maybe during the full moon, and even now, like just stuff coming up from our childhood. This will be kind of going on for a while, because we have the South Node and Saturn still conjunct Pluto, and then today the moon, our emotional body, how we feel internally, is going to be joining those three well, 2 planets and then the South Node. So let's explain that a little bit more. So the South Node being the past, being, you know, what's happened in earlier in this lifetime or in a past life. It's conjunct Saturn. So it's conjunct Saturn and Pluto. So Saturn being, you know, like the boundaries in our lives. The Saturn is like the fatherly kind of figure of the zodiac. It's here to teach you your life lesson. It's here to kind of lovingly smack you with reality and have you like take responsibility, and to look at you know, at your shit, to look at you know, maybe taking responsibility for how you've been acting in the past, for situations that you've been through, not being a victim, right? Because maybe the opposite energy, the polarity there, the Cancer energy, it can go into its shell and it can feel bad for itself, and it can just stay in that watery, like deep feeling energy, which sure, we need time and space to be there, but we also need to know when it's time to get the fuck out of that space, you know, like we can't live in it forever, or else that becomes like depression and we just stay stuck in that space. So Saturn is the energy that kind of like, okay, like let's look at it, you know, from a more detached, logical, down to earth point of view, and taking responsibility for what's happened, and being able to revisit these stories or these, you know, experiences that have happened in our childhood, to be able to revisit them from a new perspective, less emotionally absorbed by them, and to just see them for what they are. And then Pluto is the planet of death, of destruction, of, you know, what's hidden, what's buried, what's beneath the surface. Pluto will literally, you know, it'll burn the bridge that you're standing on. It'll burn down everything in your life, so that you're forced to go into something that, you know, and this whole process is scary and you don't know what the fuck's going on, but you're forced to go into something that is in more alignment for you. So the Pluto energy and Saturn being conjunct the South Node, it's bringing up all kinds of stuff from the past. Everything that's been buried, that's been suppressed, that's kind of controlling us underneath the surface, bringing it all up to the past, or to the surface, so that it can be examined, so that we can look at it and we can understand, you know, where this is coming from. We can understand our emotional responses to things. We can understand our like gut reactions or triggers, like you know, being able to see that, and then to kind of pause and to ask yourself, like, is this me? Is this true to me, or is this just a learned response? Is this something that I developed maybe when I was younger? You know, maybe it wasn't safe to fully feel things when I was younger, to fully be in my body, so I had to leave, you know, my body at different points of time when I was younger. I had to detach fully so that I wasn't consumed by the situation, you know? So now when something comes up that can trigger us, you know, like how what happened when we were younger, it can trigger us and put us back into that same space, and then our response is to leave our body, to detach, to disassociate, to shut down, or whatever it is for you. Maybe it's hurting yourself, maybe it's running away, maybe it's turning to anything, you know, some type of distraction, smoking, fucking, shopping, anything. It could look like anything. So you just have to figure out, what that is for you, and be able to notice when you turn to those things, and why you do it, you know, what you're running from, what feeling you don't want to experience at that time. So yeah, lots of stuff coming up from the past to be looked at, to be healed, to be seen from a new perspective, you know, because it's making a positive aspect. I'm looking at the chart. It's making a positive aspect to the Gemini energy. So the stuff at the end of, you know, the Capricorn, Pluto, Saturn, South Node, it's making a positive aspect to the Gemini energy. basically we're seeing, being able to see it from a new perspective, being able to, again, to detach a little bit and to see things from a new perspective, and to not let the past control us in the same way that it has before, because we're making, there's like, yeah, we're at a turning point in our life. It's like we've been operating a certain way due to experiences from the past, maybe been been operating more unconsciously. That was a combination of many words. And so now needing to choose the high road of the Scorpio energy, to choose to rise above the self-destructive, self-sabotaging behaviors, and that could be as simple as like when you get in a fight, maybe you just shut down, you just retreat and you don't say anything. Like just little things like that steal from us, that steal our ability to grow, to expand, to lean into what's uncomfortable. But by leaning into that and working through it, it will, we reach a new level of healing, a new level of consciousness, because we were willing to do that work, to sit with what's uncomfortable and to extract the medicine from it, to move through it, to not just resist and and push it down and stuff it in parts of our body, and then something small maybe comes up that touches that, and it's like a whole flood of emotions and feelings that takes you back to that time, because you haven't addressed that. You haven't addressed those like core underlying wounds. So, all right. Stretching. So we also we've got Mars. Mars is sextiling Uranus. So Mars has moved into Cancer, and it's making a positive aspect to Uranus. So basically what I feel that how I'm interpreting this is that like instantaneous healing, or like, yeah, messages coming through to you, maybe like literal messages, like somebody reaching out to you, like text message or like a phone call or something that helps you to better understand your past, your childhood wounds, because that's the Cancer energy, right? Cancer is the mother, it's the nurturer, it's the water crab energy that can go into its shell when it doesn't feel safe, but it also rules our unconscious. It rules, the stuff that happened in our childhood that is still affecting us today. Yeah, whether it's for the good or for the bad. So the point is to be able to understand these experiences that we've gone through, and to just not let them control us so much, to not let them have so much power over us. So I think with Uranus making this aspect to Mars, Uranus is the planet that will like shake up any stuck energy. So Uranus comes in and it like kind of shakes you up to release the stuck energy within us. It kind of illuminates things, it's like, again, the great awakener, like sudden flashes or downloads or insights of information. So maybe, these situations coming through that just can like help us to heal, to move through these things, to move past situations that we've experienced when we were younger, and to just not be controlled by them so much. So, yeah. So I think that we are at a turning point, that we have a new perspective, a higher perspective of our shadow self, of why we've operated the way that we have in the past. And if you're willing to do the work that it takes to overcome that, to overcome those ways of operating, those ways of showing up, knowing that they're not benefiting you, that they're, destructive or sabotaging to your true happiness, to your true, like, fullest expression. Sure, maybe it's kept you safe, to stay closed off at a different time in your life when you needed that to stay alive, but that's probably not the case right now. If stuff is coming into your awareness, you're able to look at it, to sit with it, to hold space, with yourself, and to move through that. So yeah, I think we're kind of at a turning point of seeing an old way of operating, of showing up, of responding to things, of showing up in relationships, and just, maybe not being vulnerable, not having an open heart, not wanting to express your true self in the past. And now we have, this ability to really make a huge turning point. And sure, maybe it won't be like really, really comfortable to lean into this turning point, to lean into all of the transformation that wants to come through, because we know it's going to take work to rewrite those stories. It's going to take work to fully heal from the past, to to be conscious enough that when stuff comes up within us, that we can take a step back and we can look at it and we can kind of objectify with ourselves. We can look at this situation and just not be so emotionally like engulfed by it, but to see it for what it is, and to be able to trace it back to something that happened in our lives that's causing us to react this way. So I think just not being scared or feeling like you can't step into this new expression of yourself, that you just can't do it, that you're meant to stay in that like lower vibrational stuck energy. That's not where you're meant to live. You didn't come in with that. You came in to evolve and to heal, ultimately, to continue to heal and to stay open and to keep an open heart despite what the fuck you've been through, despite maybe not receiving the love or the nurturing that you would have liked when you were younger. So then that's caused you to, maybe to look for it in other people, or to cling on to things outside of you. But ultimately that lesson is to build that inner security and that inner stability within yourself, especially for people that have Pluto and Scorpio, the Pluto and Scorpio generation. That's kind of our life lesson. Oh, look, and here it is, 1983 to 1995. If you're born in that time, that's really our work is working through, working through our desires and building up that inner stability, that inner security, and not needing that external validation so much. So despite what you've been through, if it wasn't quite, the situations that you liked, those situations needed to come into your awareness so that you could grow and you could expand in the way that you need for this lifetime, that your soul needs to evolve. It needed to go through those lessons to reach, this place that you're at. And now to be able to keep an open heart, to stay vulnerable, to stay open, despite the situations that you've been through, knowing that everybody is just operating at their best, the best of their ability, based on the situations that they've been through and their ability to assimilate those situations and to better understand them and to heal themselves. If they haven't done that work, then they don't have that inside of them to give to you. So knowing that the people that are spewing out negativity and hate and fear and all the lower vibrational energy, like knowing that those people truly need the most love. They need the most love because that's not what's inside of them. That's all that they have to share. So they're definitely not giving love to themselves. So just keeping an open heart and having love and compassion for those people. And not being afraid to step into a whole new expression of yourself, to rise above, the patterns that you've done in the past, to complete those cycles, to see them for what they are, and to consciously choose, how you want to show up moving forward, that you don't have to keep repeating the same cycles, that you can rise above it. You can choose to do the work. You can choose to break, to clear the karma. And to keep an open heart. To keep an open heart and to stay vulnerable and to be able to, own your feelings, to own what's going on for you, to not push it onto other people or blame other people, but to just be able to sit with what's coming up for you, and to get really curious and like honest and humble with yourself. Like, where is this coming from? Not just reaching for something else, for a distraction or something to numb you, but really having the courage to sit with it and to heal it. Okay, that's all for now. I hope that this was helpful. I hope that it is supporting you at this time. It's medicine for me to share it. So I hope it serves you in some way. Or not, but either way, here we are. And if you would like to do a reading with me, I do astrology readings, I do past life regressions, and I do tarot readings. So you can message me on here. You can message me through my website at cosmicguidance.online, and I would love to hold space for you. I'm Scorpio rising with Pluto on my ascendant, so it's kind of my life purpose to transmute everything, to just keep peeling back the layers and to get to the core of like what's inside of us, you know, for myself. And I love to help other people go to that space, but only if you're willing to, only if you feel ready. If you don't feel ready to look at those parts of yourself, then it's not the time. But if you're watching this, I think that we are all ready to evolve and to rise above the past. Yeah, past ways of operating. So, all right. Lots of love to everybody. Thanks.